dawn with the pelicans in flight. Coffee brewing strong by dawn's early light. Waves whisper secrets to my open heart. The life around this water gets me off to a great start. Parrots wild, squawking loud in the old palm tree. Dolphin smiles, brighter than the Texas sun on me. We chase simple dreams, nothing fancy or grand, just honest days in this promised land. God gives rainbow horizons to those in this happy lane. Diamonds dancing on the waves, back sparkling again. Honest living, a pursuit of peace, family ties and the happiness we seek. Love for God and country running deep in our veins. Through the storms and the trials we break those chains. Good living brings the blessings we see. The rainbow horizons calling to me.
All right, everybody. I hope that everyone is doing absolutely marvelous on this fine Monday evening. I hope you're doing great. It's still 2025, but with everything that's happened, it feels like it ought to be 2028 at least. All right, now then. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. And yes, I was out of pocket and I apologize for that. But as you know, I was being Nene, aka Granny, aka that heifer in Texas, I suspect is my name in the Matthias household. But nevertheless, here we are. Now, I, along with you guys and everyone else in the YouTube streets of Utopia, sat with my jaw agape, listening to, well, what should we call it? The shenanigans and theatrics of Dr. John. Look, I was in shock. I'm not gonna lie about it. I couldn't believe my ears. And if you do not know of what I speak, I'm actually talking about the disaster of John Matthias, his very poorly done evaluation and report in defense of a pedo flipazoid creepazoid person, right? Mr. Dittmer of the third derivation. Now, this is complicated. Okay, of course it is complicated. And yes, in fact, I did sit on my flight home and with an open notebook in my lap where I was going to be making an outline for how I was going to address this debacle. And I don't mind telling you, as I landed in Houston, Texas, I had written exactly 5 words. What will I say? Shit. That's literally what I wrote. First, I wrote, what will I say? And then I thought, and then I just wrote shit because I couldn't think of how I wanted to say it. Here's the reason why it was so hard to come up with the way to address this in a responsible manner. It is complicated on a number of levels, okay? The first level that makes it so terribly complicated is this. John Matthias, you wanted to take a totally and completely innocent woman who had committed exactly 0 crimes, and you wanted to collaborate with police officers and detectives to make up bullshit charges to send her to a prison for a minimum of 5 years, but depending on how many counts that your unethical ass could come up with, maybe 50 years. You wanted to do that to Christina after the public humiliation that your wife and Grayson put her through at CrimeCon intentionally. But it turns out, Mr. Matthias, you are a pedophile apologist. You literally violated your code of ethics and the principles that guide a licensed psychologist in every professional endeavor they undertake. You violated them tenfold on so many different levels. You made up bull for your report. You literally got out your magic 8-ball and you would ask your 8-ball a question, and then you'd shake it up, shake it up, shake it up. And then you'd sit it down on your desk and you'd wait for the answer. And then you said, yes, that looks like a great thing to put in this report. In my efforts to take a budding pedophile filled with testosterone and get him released from prison 10 years earlier than the charging laws would have it. You literally did that, John. You literally took an innocent woman, made up bullshit, broke the law by enticing a law officer to make up a broken law for your creepy ass. But you lied in an official court document. You lied. Or if it wasn't a lie, if you didn't consult your magic 8-ball for the delusional and or fictional background and history for Mr. Dittmer, then you're just stupid. You're just dumb. And I don't know which one is worse, actually. So that's the first step off, isn't it? That's the first huge problem on how do I make this video that all my friends are asking me to make. I've had so many people reach out and say what happened with this report that he did. Like, what happened? How could he be so inept? How could this have happened? And you know, I've been very clear. I try really hard to stay away from this kind of thing online because I don't like for my professional position to find its way into my YouTube channel. Okay. My YouTube channel is for my relaxation and my fun. And yet, as I pull up these, as I get access to these reports, as I go through the docket and I see these reports and I see the true background and history, and I also pulled up Dittmer II, I'm aghast at this entire problem. So the second thing that makes this very difficult for me to do a fairly direct and pithy response to this in the way that it really needs to be. This doesn't need to be a video full of jokes and fun. It needs to be factually accurate. The second thing that made it very, very difficult is that the APA Code of Ethics, the governing principles of our profession, a lot of people, psychologists even, are confused, and they believe, well, if I'm not a member of APA, then I don't have to adhere to this code. And that is where you are 100% incorrect, John Matthias, because the 5 general principles, the ethical standards, and then the following principles, those are in fact exactly what the state licensing board, the laws that govern your profession, John Matthias, that is exactly where those laws are coming from. So these are our directives that just get picked up in each individual state and make it part of your licensing according to whatever state that you're in. So he violated many. There are multiple ethics that he violated. There are just having to do with this testing, the bullshit report that got submitted to the court. There's so much wrong in how it could be addressed. And I do remember this. I do remember Lauren saying, and I can't remember what live that it was on. I just don't remember, but I remember she did say that he was reported to his board, that he did have to defend his license. Is it possible that this is the event that basically resulted in that report? I don't know, but if it was, I think that the board gave him a very hefty rehabilitation plan. And that would be interesting to know what they required of him based on all of the mistakes that he made, okay, in this entire report. Now, understand this, doing these tests, these assessments, especially someone who's incarcerated, right? You have access to them. You get to make the rules. If I need to meet with them 20 hours, 200 hours, whatever, I just pick up the phone and say, I got to come back and talk to them, block me off another 2 hours or 4 hours or whatever. So it's a bit confusing why he made up a background for this man that was just fake. It was just false. Why did he do it? John, are you scared? Like, are you afraid to go into the prison to talk to your client? Are you scared to go in and ask him questions about his background and history, that you had to go talk to his mommy, that you felt safe talking to the mother of the PDF file, but you couldn't go in and just ask about the truth? That's a little weird for me to understand. I mean, weren't you like a big, strong football player? I just can't understand how you would have a woman say to you, I had a dream. There was a dream. See, I said I wasn't going to make a joke about any of this, and I shouldn't. this mother of this man, she told a story. Now, this is very confusing, okay? Admittedly, this is really confusing. She told a story of her son, the PDF file, that he was victimized by Richard Dittmer II, the father. So the PDF file is Richard Dittmer III. The mother told a story that Richard Dittmer II attacked, committed abuse against the third, and that he also, that the second showed Dittmer the third, showed him CSAM. And John Matthias wrote a whole report on this woman's I Got a Dream. Okay? That was his background and history for Dick Dittmer the third. It was just a dream that the mother somehow reported to John Matthias. And I don't know if John Matthias is afraid of prisons, but he wasn't able to talk to the actual subject of the assessment and say, hey, your mom had a dream. Did your dad show you his underage assault videos? Did your dad do these things to you? He couldn't go do that. He just, the mom says, I had a dream that my husband did this to my son, and that's what's wrong with him. Now you may ask yourself, but what does that matter, Jules? Like, what does it matter if the subject of the assessment, if he says, I was abused by my dad, my PDF file dad, the second, I was abused, as compared to him saying, I was not abused. My dad did not do those things to me. The first time that I ever saw CSAM was when my 15-year-old friends were having sex with their girlfriends, consensual sex, and we were recording it, and then we would watch it. And that's the first time I saw it. So the subject of the investigation, the guy who is in jail, right? He says, I was not a victim of child SA. His mother says to John Matthias, I had a dream that my husband did this to my son. And John Matthias said, ooh, that works for the story I want to tell. So new background in history. Here, let me delete, let me backspace. Let me, hold on. Wait a minute. Excuse me, Miss Dittmer. Got to erase. Hold on. Okay. Now then, here we go. Number 3 was abused by number 2. And number 2 showed number 3 CSAM, his videos. But it was all fiction. It wasn't it was false. John Matthias, you got a problem, don't you? Those pesky little ethics codes, correct? Big problem for you, I think. And I think this is probably the case that got you reported to your licensing board, right? So number 3, integrity. Psychologists promote accuracy, honesty, and truthfulness in their science, teaching and practice. You see, that's practice, John. When you go into a prison and you conduct an assessment with an inmate, that is called practice. You were practicing forensic psychology, weren't you? Or at least you were supposed to be. But you seem to be all hung up on works of fiction, don't you? You can't get your head out from behind Brad Pitt's and his fictional tales of heroism. Hell, you still go to bed wearing your Batman pajamas, man. You're really struggling with the difference between fact and fantasy. What you wrote in the official court documents, Dr. Matthias, was fictional. It was fantasy. Probably, my guess, is that it was the fantasy of a mother who was worried sick about her young adult son going to prison for how many years? 27 years. And she would have done anything to help her child. And you said, gosh, you know, if only he had been assaulted as a little kid. And she said, but why, Dr. John, oh glorious one? Why would that make a difference? Well, you see, Ms. Dittmer, if your son had been assaulted in that way, then that helps in my evaluation because we have good research that shows people that are the victims of child sexual assault, they are more open to treatment and therapy as compared to people who are not sexually assaulted as children and they just grow into being horrific, terrible monsters. Those kinds of monsters, they just don't get well. We can't do anything to help them. They just stay monsters forever. So if you want me to try and help you get your little boy out of prison, then we need for him to have been assaulted when he was a little kid. So help me out here, lady. Is that how it is? That I'm guessing. Allegedly, this is my brand of fiction. This is me making up a Brad Pitt role. We're gonna put Brad Pitt in the role of the fictitious psychologist John Matthias, trying to get a PDF file out of prison 10 years earlier than the charging laws would have it. So we're just writing a pretend book. It's not real. Is that what happened? Is that how Mama Dittmer had her dream? All fantasy. And you wrote a assessment document, a report that would be used to reduce a sentence in a plea deal by 10 years, almost half. Almost half. And to make it worse, John Matthias, it wasn't even like a 50-year-old pedophile, was it? It wasn't a 60-year-old pedophile, was it? You know exactly why I am pointing out age, don't you? Or you damn well ought to know. Let me clear it up for you. He was 25 years old. You want to take a kid who's by the age of 18 has multiple incidences of varying degrees, but clearly showing orientation, clearly showing manipulation to engage in his paraphilias. You want to get him out of jail 10 years early, where he will be walking free among my grandchildren when his testosterone is at its highest, John Matthias. That makes you a pig. Now, I don't know. I don't know if this is money. I don't know if this is the proverbial, what do they call it? What's that word? Court whore. I don't know. I don't know if this was an act of mercenary, willing to do anything for money. I don't know. I don't know if this was what happens when someone improperly educated, inexperienced, is given a position, a job that they're just wholly unqualified for. But I know this. So the court, the prosecution, I heard somebody say that the prosecution's response was a complete repudiation of the assessment that John Matthias did in the case of Richard Dittmer III. I think you're wrong about that. I think that it was a 100% repudiation of John Matthias himself, right? In the world of research, and that is what an evaluation is of any kind of assessment. You're conducting research, you're trying to learn about this person. In the world of research, it is very common and expected to be challenged. It's not unusual. It's part of how people learn and how the field gets better. Whatever, any prospective field, it's how it gets better. And if you read the professional journals, you see a group of scientists, whether they're psychologists or medical researchers or whatever, biologists, you'll see one publication, somebody will come out and say, oh, well, that was, a ridiculous piece of research and here's what they did wrong. And then the next, maybe 3 months later, the scientist that was taken to task saying, you did it wrong. Now they'll put out another publication and they'll say, oh, well, that just shows you how little they know. Let me tell you why we did it this way. And so they'll have a sort of like a slap fight in these peer-reviewed journals where they're fighting back and forth about who's right and who's wrong and yada yada. Okay, that's not unusual. The prosecution, their answer back to this ridiculous work of fiction by John Matthias, it was different than that. Okay, it was more than that. And I do understand, and this was the third part that made this a very difficult video to make, is that as you listen to Jay or Hella Excited Utterance, as you listen to them and they're reading the court documents to you, or Andy, I just found her videos the other day and love her. As you listen and the prosecution is saying this is wholly the wrong instrument to use in this particular situation. The definition of recidivism is inaccurate or flawed, or any manner of like disagreement that they have with the testing that John Matthias used. That's pretty, I don't want to say that it's standard. he made some horrible, look, it wasn't the choice of tests that he did. I think the most egregious is this. Yes, he made some choices that were flawed for what the original question was. However, that could have been easily solved by adding like 2 or 3 extra tests. Easily solved, okay? That then Matthias wouldn't have been in any trouble specific to the testing. But what he did was far worse than his choice of tests, okay? What he did was he just completely lied. He's so incompetent that he used instruments that he did not know how to properly score. And in the world of a counselor and psychologist, my understanding is his PhD is in counseling psychology, correct? Yeah, it's a doctor of philosophy. All that means is it's a research degree, but his area is counseling psychology, I believe. And that is actually the claim to fame for counseling psychologists is testing and assessment. Like that's what they do. That's their big thing. So I'm having a hard time understanding how a counseling psychologist doesn't know that he's supposed to know how to score the test that he administrates. And that led me to another point. I said, and this we will never know the answer to. We will never know the answer to this. The only way you would know is if it was recorded or somebody was there watching. You have no idea if he gave the test properly. You don't know it. For example, if you give a WACE, okay, a Wechsler, you literally have to read the instructions word for word. And there are specific times that you wait for an answer. And if they don't give you an answer and you're sitting there waiting, you can only say one thing, right? You can't try to entice them to talk more. And the reason that this is done this way is because they want it, if you give a WACE in Texas or in Toronto or in Somalia, they want to know that each of those people that had that test, that they all had exactly the same testing experience, but because the final scoring that you get is a comparison against all others who have taken it. So you don't want any kind of extra variable to modify the potential score. So I can't build up somebody's confidence by saying, oh, that's okay, you're doing fine, just breathe. I can't do anything like that. I have to be very robotic when I'm giving that sort of test, okay? So with some of these tests, some are self-report, they're not that big of a deal. Others, you damn well have a manual and you follow it, not kidding, word for word, minute by minute, exact. And we have no way of knowing if he administered properly. We have no way of knowing. None. The reason that I say that is he damn sure did not know how to score them. Every test he gave had scoring anomalies. Every test that he gave, every instrument had scoring anomalies. Big ones that mattered. Big scoring problems that made the difference between being ranked recidivism, a moderately high likelihood of recidivism, as compared to low chances of recidivism, which is what he turned in to the court. He used his license, his PhD, He used it to tell the court, I'm the expert here. Don't you worry about old Tricky Dicky over here. He's not going to hurt anybody else. And so feel good about letting him out of prison 10 years earlier than you might otherwise. Think about that. So there was so much wrong with the test. Again, the first problem, the first task was you totally gave the wrong test. You completely gave test where the question of recidivism isn't even accurate to the question posed by the court. And yet you went ahead and gave these well-known instruments. That is easily rehabilitated. You either give those follow-up tests that they very often go hand in hand, or you have your rationale prepared ahead of time and included in your results section. You explain why this was the test that you chose. This is pretty standard. This is not too unusual. But the fact that he didn't offer additional testing to make up for the weaknesses of the 4 tests that he did choose, that is huge. There's a lot lacking. He didn't even get started on his evaluation. Like, he gave these very basic first steps, and then he didn't round it out. There should have been an IQ test. There should have been an achievement test. Why would that be important in the case of the question of recidivism and a plea agreement and all of that? Well, you need to know, there's a lot of reasons that you would want to know someone's intellectual ability. One is that really smart manipulators can hurt a lot of people. So if you've got someone that you suspect is manipulating, like a sex offender, you want an IQ score. You want to know what they can, how smart they are, what they know, what they've been exposed to. Another important reason is if they're lower functioning, then any kind of treatment program that you're going to have them in, you need to make sure that the treatment program is appropriate for their level of intellectual ability. If they can't read, then you can't give them something that's going to use a lot of workbooks and a lot of reading assignments, right? So I don't know why you didn't do the basic backbone of a psychological assessment. Any kind of forensic work, that's a higher standard, but you still always require that basic foundation. You need IQ, you need achievement, you need like personality, you need a test for psychopathology. It's very strange. And then obviously mood issues, diagnostics, that kind of thing. Background history, school, when they first started dating, all of that, we just didn't see. There was no comment on that other than the mother had a dream, and he decided in his infinite wisdom, he decided that the background and history of the subject of the assessment would be mommy's dream. So then he could say, oh, look, young lad Dittmer was sexually abused as a child, and that means he's going to be open to therapy. He has a good chance of getting better. The problem is that was a fiction of John Matthias's brain. It wasn't true. The young lad Dittmer said very clearly multiple times to John Matthias and others, my father did not abuse me. I did not watch my father's CSAM. Me and my friends, when we were 15, we were making our own videos and then watching them together. He said it. Now, I can just imagine the good doctor sitting here saying, but wait a minute, just use your common sense, Jules. Does that make sense? Do you think he would tell the truth? Don't you think that CSAM and child abuse, don't you think that's the thing that's lied about the most? Well, here is what I know, John. You can't read minds, and your magic 8-ball is, it's not magic. It's a child's toy. The rule that you learned in your PhD program, the rule is background and history. You go by what the subject of testing is reporting, and then you go and you gather anecdotal information, school records, reports from others, and you try to corroborate what the subject is saying. You don't make a command decision to just ignore what the guy is telling you, and you handpick the story that is going to work best for what you're getting paid for. And I suspect that the attorneys that hired you, well, they were very clear about the outcome that they wanted. That's what I suspect. And so mommy's story of a dream, that was going to work a lot easier for you to say, oh, look, low level in terms of potential recidivism. And one of the protective factors is he was abused as a child, and that means he can be helped. Since he experienced child sexual abuse, he's open to therapy to heal and get better, as opposed to just being a creepy monster dude. So I've heard a lot of people as they've talked about this debacle, this train wreck. And some people are convinced that John Matthias knowingly lied, that he knowingly cheated the scores of the instruments that he gave. Then there are other people who say, no. This wasn't a question of honesty, or I guess I should say dishonesty. This wasn't a question of dishonesty. It was really a question of ethics. It was a question of competence, that he just did not know how to administer the instruments. He did not know how to properly score them. And he doesn't understand how to take a proper background and history for a test. He didn't know that he should be collecting school records and interviews to corroborate what the subject is saying. It's just a question that he's lacks the proper knowledge. He's inexperienced. Now, I don't know what the answer is, but I think that every single mistake on the scoring that was outlined by the prosecution, because they had an expert psychologist, they had an expert witness, and the prosecution's expert witness, they went over Dr. Matthias's raw data, the reports he wrote. You can have access to that. You can look at what the other side did, right? so they did know. They were professional. They did know the instruments. They did know how to score them, and they were able to say, "Oh, look, he robbed 2 points here. He robbed a point here. He robbed 3 points here." And this is the point that I think is very instructive, at least for me. Every single mistake that was made to the benefit of the pedophile. This pedophile, Dittmer III, if the tests were scored properly, then he would have been at a high risk of recidivism, which would have completely thrown out any hope of getting even an extra year off of his sentence. But rather, because of the scoring mistakes that John Matthias made, his lack of knowledge on the instruments that he had full reign to choose, ended up with a guy that he said was a low risk for recidivism. Like, you can't make it up, right? How is that? How is it that every single mistake that John Matthias made resulted in a lower risk level, increasing the possibility that the guy gets 10 years off of a 27-year? I don't know how that, I don't, I like to gamble, like, for fun, just for play. Those odds, man, that's incredible. So look, the first of the standards in our code is beneficence and non-maleficence. And what that basically says is that psychologists must strive to benefit those they work with and take care to do no harm. And you say, "Oh, well, he totally took that one in care because he did everything he could to get his supposed, quotation marks, client off, even though technically that wasn't his client." Well, no, he endangered Dittmer III by writing a fictional report of a background in history that simply didn't exist, misscoring the instrument so that Mr. Dittmer appears to be at a very low risk of recidivism, thereby getting his sentence cut almost in half. He actually increases the possibility that Mr. Dittmer ends up dead one day because he gets out of jail. He gets out of jail 10 years early when his testosterone is still high. He will have had 17 years of fantasy to fuel his insanity. And then when he gets out, he gets stupid and sloppy, and some little girl's dad kills him because John Matthias made some choices that did not align with his code of ethics. You're not helping him by misscoring. You're not helping him by getting him off with 17 years instead of 27 years. You're not helping him. And you're not helping the community. You're putting children in danger. But you got your money, didn't you? You got your money. So take care to do no harm. And I would have to ask this particular psychologist, can you actually say with a clean conscience that in the case of Richard Dittmer III, did you do no harm to the greater community, to the field of psychology, or to the subject of your assessment that was so flawed? Fidelity and responsibility is the next one. Psychologists establish relationships of trust and uphold their professional standards of conduct. When the true crime community gets a hold of a previously respected psychologist, a report, a court case, you bragged on your website that you had over 500 assessments in federal court as you were trying to get Christina, a wholly innocent woman, thrown into prison for between 5 and 50 years. As you did that to save your money, your professional reputation as a YouTubeist, this report was floating around out there waiting to be discovered, actually. And these true crime podcasters start reading it and they're aghast. They're in horror. They can't believe how awful you performed. And I'm cringing, John Matthias. I'm cringing because I'm going, oh, great. Yeah, this is super. They will believe that all psychologists are this dumb and unprincipled. So thank you for that, John. Thank you for destroying not just your reputation as a professional YouTubeist, but thank you so much for working so hard to destroy the field of forensic psychology all on your own. You're actually fairly amazing. Your cute little bride who has the magical morphing face. Good for you. I don't even know how come your license is still active. I really don't. Integrity is the third. Psychologists promote accuracy. Wow, John, you blew that one right out the water, didn't you? Boom, right there. Psychologists promote accuracy, honesty, and truthfulness in their science, their teaching, and their practice. And the evaluation that you failed to do, that was practice. You were in the act of supposedly doing psychology. You didn't. You failed horribly. It's embarrassing for every professional psychologist around when we stumble across a report like the one that you turned into the court. It's just incredible. It's incredible for everyone involved. The number of people that you harmed with that one absurd work of fiction, it's unbelievable. And all I can say is this: thank God the prosecutors knew what they were doing. Thank God the prosecutors, expert psychologists knew what they were doing. And thank God that the judge knew what they were doing. Thank God. The judge actually wrote, I wish I had it pulled up. I'm going off the top of my head, so please bear with me. It's not a direct quote, but the judge wrote, contrary to Dr. Matthias's opinion that there was a low rate of recidivism or possibility of recidivism for this defendant, I know blah, 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 blah. Meaning the judge knew that John Matthias is full shit. So thank you, Judge, for not letting this bumbling fool let this guy out 10 years early. I can't even imagine his victims, their family members. I can't even imagine them trying to survive if this kid had gotten 10 years off his sentence. So So, I'm sorry, I got a bit distracted because there's a little bit of some people outside. My husband's talking to them. So sorry about that. So justice. Psychologists recognize that fairness and justice entitle all people to access and benefit from the contributions of psychology. And John Matthias, you can be credited with none of that. You did nothing to promote fairness nor justice. All you did is you told a defense attorney how much money you wanted and what they wanted your report to say. That's all you did. That's all you did. You hurt the field of psychology. All of us. You hurt the victims. All of them. Every person ever experiencing sexual assault, you hurt them by proving that there are slimy people like you willing to say anything for $1 and that you don't give a shit about what they had to survive and live through. And then the final, respect for people's rights and dignity. Psychologists respect the dignity and worth of all individuals and the rights of individuals to their privacy, confidentiality, and self-determination. I think we have to keep first and foremost in our mind that Christina kind of looms large in the background, right? That before this Dittmer case came to light, John Courtney, thank you for saying that. And please remember this, John. I am a licensed psychologist. So I'm a bit limited in fully expressing my theories, if you know what I mean. But just because I'm not saying it, it doesn't mean that you are wrong. Okay. Now then. Oh God. Yes, SJ. You can't ignore that either, can you? You can't ignore the bizarre focus on Brad Pitt. But he doesn't like Brad Pitt as an old guy. He just liked Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was clearly more talented, I guess, as a young guy than as an old guy. Creepy, right? Okay. Not going to say anymore, but we're all communicating. Okay. So Christina looms large in this tale as the information emerged on the Dittmer case and the just egregious performance of John Matthias. Please don't forget this, okay? Please don't forget this. We listened to police body cam. That's good as gold, people. There's no manipulating police body cam. It's real, okay? We listened to John Matthias basically say to that cop, we need a crime. Give us a crime. We're telling you what we've got, what we can prove, but you have to tell us the crime and hopefully multiple instances of the same crime so we can get, enhanced sentencing. Do y'all remember? I'm curious. Do y'all remember that? Do you remember the feeling that you had as you began to have that dawning awareness? Holy shit. He's absolutely willing to put an innocent person in prison if that saves his money. You remember? You remember? He's asking for the feds. Why? Were these your friends, John? Is this how you got your sweet little gig with Dittmer? Are these some of your friends? Now, that brings us to another part, and again, I'm not reducing this down into a small amount of information because it's not a big deal. I'm saying to you, the whole report, his conduct, all that he did wrong, we could do 3 or 4 videos on it. It was so much that I was trying to figure out, how do I say what I want to say and still be able to manage the enormity of everything he actually did wrong. Okay. There are people. Yeah, psychopath is a very interesting word, Julia. Christina looms large behind the story of Dittmer, right? That as he put his professional reputation, his license on the line in order to get a pedophile 10 years off of his sentence. He's running the risk. He knows every time he misscores, every time he lies about the chance of recidivism, when he makes up a false claim, background and history is bullshit. He knows he could be called to the table for that by his licensing board, right? So he's taking a chance to get this pedophile off 10 years early. And yet he turned around and committed a crime to entice a police officer to help him set up an innocent woman to go to prison for 5 to 50 years. Please, someone tell me they're horrified by that awareness. If just one hidden gem would come out of the closet and admit that it is terrifying that John Matthias is capable of that. It's not a matter of he was gonna do it. It's not a matter of he was capable of do it. People, we watched the police body cam as he did it. He did it. We listened, we watched, we saw it. Remember? It's just, thank God, the police officer had some integrity. Otherwise, Christina could be in real trouble right now. Think about that. A man who would do an evaluation, who would say that he has done 500 assessments, federal court, right? And now we find out he's never done not one. He's never testified, not once. The last time he testified was in 2011 at family court. What is it about a person who is able to tell such huge lies to the forward-facing public, and none of it's real? He didn't do 500 assessments. He didn't do 500 hours of assessments. He's never testified, people. But he lied to the police officer and said he had. He lied to the police officer and said that, he did all his work in the federal courts. He lied to the police officer, enticing that police officer to make up a crime against Christina, have her arrested and sent to prison. He wanted to call the FBI on Christina. But his facts on the internet were all lie. It's all fiction. There's not 500 plus hours. There's not 500 plus evaluations. It's all a lie. He's not an adjunct professor. What is that makes it possible for someone to be able to do that? They just wanted the god-awful paper trail. That's right, Cinnamon. That's all they cared about. All those phone calls to the police. I'm so scared. I feel unsafe. It was all to make up a bullshit case against Christina. This is terrible. It is crazy microblue. It is a complete lack of empathy. It is the most unprincipled behavior imaginable. This is bad stuff here. This is really bad stuff. The same man who was working, putting his license on the line to get a pedophile 10 years off of a 27-year sentence is actively constructing a lie, fraud against a young mother that had worked for Lauren. John Matthias, what's wrong with you? Do you think you're mafia? Like what are you even? I'll tell you this, John, you scare the shit out of me. You scare me. You scare me. And still up to now, what, be real. There you go. So Be Real says it was a hidden crime. It hasn't this become very prosaic, right? I don't know about you guys, but when they came out with their channel and she named it Hidden True Crime, how many of you guys sat around and kind of mulled that over? Like, did you kind of spend some time thinking hidden true crime? What is hidden true crime? Like, what does that mean? And I can't be the only one that thought that was a very weird channel name. Did anybody else think it was weird? I thought it was just so weird. Yeah, me too, Bobo or Boo Boo, Boo Boo Roo. How are you? I didn't mull it over, but it never made sense to me. It doesn't. It's stupid. Lauren, you have a stupid name for your channel. Your channel is stupid. Hidden True Crime. What does that mean? Like, it means nothing. It's just bullshit. But if you're hyper aware that you've lied your ass off about your background and history and professional resume, then you may be predisposed. You may be primed toward, okay, if we say all of that, if we construct a forward-facing persona for the good of the channel, how do we hide the fact that I really did not do all this work? That I really am not a certified expert in the federal courts? How do I hide all of that? How do I hide the fact that I have not testified one single solitary time ever? How I do that? So then you would be primed toward that idea of hidden, right? And how many times did we all say, but where is just the little leftover little bits of information that always happen? Like, I have some that pops up where I was doing diagnostic work at a special center in a different state that I just never cleaned it up. It's still floating around out there on some, website somewhere. Just didn't clean it up. Everybody has that. Everybody has little bits and pieces of their history that get caught up in the Wayback Machine, right? Not John, not Lauren. They have, I am convinced in my heart of hearts, that they have paid one of these companies that goes out there and cleans up your reputation online. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I feel so certain of that because there's just nothing, right? And only when you go into Pacer do you then see, no, he's totally lied. He's not been involved in all of these court cases. He has not been doing all these evaluations. And now we also are led down the primrose path toward the reality that he seems to have been a maybe he was a colleague of Jody Hildebrandt. Maybe he was in competition with Jody Hildebrandt. Maybe the Mormon organization, maybe they're not only hiring just Jody Hildebrandt to manipulate and brainwash their hand-chosen Mormons. Maybe there's lots of Jody Hildebrandts out there. And what if John is one of the Jodys? Do you see what I mean? Now, I'm guessing that I'm saying what if. I don't know that to be fact, but I think that we now know beyond a shadow of a doubt this idea that John Matthias is a brilliant forensic psychologist working in the federal system is not, it's wrong, it's a lie. You hidden gems, I know that, look, betrayal is very difficult when it comes to light. I think that when there are people that you really love or you really admire, and then you find out that it was all a ruse, a sham, that they said, you hidden gems are stupid. We can trick you into believing anything. And so look at there. I'm a great forensic psychologist. And the reality is, no, he is a bald-faced liar. He hasn't ever testified. And hidden gems, you don't have to believe me. That was actually the judge in the Dittmer case that made that observation. They wanted to cross-examine John Matthias. They wanted him on the stand, voir dire. They wanted to find out all that he had lied about. And he never answered. He never showed up. He never answered them. That's your king, hidden gems. That is who Trisha on Web Sleuths has bent over backwards to protect. Apparently, Trisha from Web Sleuths doesn't care about truth. This idea that Lauren and John are for the victims, yeah, more than you can imagine. He literally is a pedophile apologist. Literally. He's willing to commit fraud and did in the name of helping a 25-year-old pedophile get out of prison. By the time he's 35, still raging with testosterone, which increases all by itself, that increases recidivism. The younger they are, the higher their testosterone, the more likely there will be acting out. Truth. And hidden gems, I know it's hard. I know it's hard to stand back and go, I got the wool pulled over my eyes. I believed in John and Lauren. I trusted them. I believed in them. I thought they were real. I thought they really cared. And it is all out there now. And the more you expose yourself to them, the more opportunity you give them to mess with you and gaslight you. Personally, I have searched far and wide for a video interview with John Matthias and inmates. I have found none, zero, zilch, nil, and nada. Because there is none. It's not there. Yeah, what quintessence brings up a another horrifying, terrifying reality. So it seems that maybe, possibly, John Matthias was getting therapy clients or coaching, life coaching. What the hell? Life coach? Oh, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. However, apparently he was getting some kind of clients from the Mormon church. Is this like the Jody Hildebrandt issue? And he was affiliated with a wilderness camp. That's really terrifying, isn't it? All the way across the board. Especially after what we saw with Jody Hildebrandt and the way that she treated those small children, nearly killing them, right? There's just something wrong here. There's just something very wrong. Did they give you a C and D? No, Sugar Gold. I can talk all I want. Nope, I have no C and D. If Lauren works, she'll find some LDS dude to take her. It won't be easy, but she's quite manipulative. I couldn't help but notice she did a video yesterday and she's still on Gray Bay's orange, well-worn sofa. So what do you think, guys? Like, do you think that John has kicked her out of the house? Do you think she happily is gone from the marriage? It's very confusing, isn't it? Using the Wayback Machine, the About section of his old website mentions 2 organizations he worked with. I can't find any information on those organizations. That I think they paid someone to clean the history up. And then they told these outrageous lies, just bald-faced, total lies. All of her talk about being an investigative reporter, right? Mainstream media, investigative reporter, a real reporter. And then we find out, excuse me, the woman her big break was talking about chocolate bacon. What? You're a true crime reporter with Keith? Huh? Boy, wouldn't I like Keith to do a story on John Matthias? That'd be fun. I don't think that she's had any of this around her kid because everything she's done, including the 9-hour live, was not done at home. She's still not home, Hawkeye. Well, the only thing you can guess by is the fact that she's still sitting on Grayson's orange sofa as of last night. Well, there was that cameraman rumor. I have a different rumor, Cavalloo. I know which one you're talking about, but there's another rumor, right? Right? You know that other one? Ruby, Frankie, and children. Terrible. Was it heartbreaking for all those children, Carolina? Someone said she's not wearing her ring. Is the Dittmer family wealthy? If so, no, they're not. If so, they may have paid the defense team. I want to know what happened to those children out there in the wilderness. You can keep trying to clean, but it keeps coming out, so they didn't clean it very well. Exactly, Hawkeye. And where is old Grayson? The old philosopher. I don't know. Look, I know that Grayson doesn't get a lot of grace. I do feel sorry for her. And I do think she has been an active participant. I think she has fallen right in step with Lauren's histrionics and she has her own set of histrionics, but she's impressionable, right? I don't mean she's, 12 years old, but she's looking towards these two people that she has built up in her mind as being, accomplished and so smart. And I'm going to tell you, when it finally occurs to her, and by the way, great babe, Grayson, mom and dad, where are you? Like, are y'all out there? Hello, are y'all watching? Are you listening? Why aren't you trying to protect your child from these maniacs? Why aren't you trying to bring your daughter home, send her to college, get her a real education so that she can feel good about her next job and she doesn't have to work for crazy people? Well, I thought so. I don't know if I haven't seen anybody say this, but let me just give my take on it. These proposal videos where John proposes in marriage, and then their anniversary videos where they've got a cameraman following them around and there's music and sunsets. Like, it's a full production, right? Question: exactly who was the proposal for, Lauren? Was the proposal because you had found your partner and you were excited to start your lives together to serve as memory? Or was this more performative art for you? This was more of, I need to be famous in order to feel like I'm real. And I really don't give a shit about love, but I do need people to know me and know my story. So you wrote a book about the first husband who literally pulled up at the airport and said, I don't care where you go. All I know is you can't go to my house. Get out. No, don't want you. Been trying to get rid of you for weeks. Goodbye. And you somehow thought that that was making him look bad. You have no awareness that it makes you look really out of touch and unaware that you didn't know that he was at that point. Then you turn around and you do not one, but two videos of the proposal, but it was creepy and weird. And there was exactly zero love or warmth or emotion. It was just like a really, really, really bad high school student's attempt at a love story. It was just weird. But hey, Lauren seems to be more, there seems to be more authenticity in her interactions with Grayson than anything I've seen between her and John. Anything. I think she hates him. I think she despises him. And I think she feels safe and accepted and loved when she's with Grayson. Lauren said live in the summer she bought the couch at Home Goods. It wasn't until Hella reported on John Matthias' court document a day or two ago that I realized how bad they truly were. SJ, I was horrified as I listened and really kind of sat with it and had the realization this is worse than he's a pedophile apologist. It's far worse than that. The thing that makes it so completely horrifying is that he worked so hard to have a fake paper trail to have Christina thrown in prison. He would willingly help a pedophile and knowingly put an innocent woman in prison, one would assume, so he could keep his money safe. That is as dark and dirty as it gets. It's awful. It's truly awful. Hidden motives of true crime. I don't know. I just thought maybe they just have so many secrets. They've lied about so much, and they knew, we're going to have to be really careful to keep the ruse going. She couldn't keep a job. Bling. It doesn't look like he could keep a job. For example, so what happens, after the Dittmer event, right? The report, the prosecution's response, the judge's scathing review. Do you believe anyone will ever hire John Matthias again to do a forensic evaluation? If you think that there'll be some poor soul out there willing to give him another chance, put a 1. If you think that ship has sailed and he'll never see an opportunity to do testing for a court again, put a 2. I'm just curious where everybody stands on that. I think the ship has sailed. I think he's done. It's over. That because forevermore, when somebody is saying, "Oh, John Matthias is available," yeah, he's that forensic psychologist in Las Vegas. He's available. They're going to type his name into Pacer, and Dittmer is going to come up, and they're all going to back away at lightning speed and say, "Not no, but hell no. I would rather take a PhD student fresh out of their, internship to do the evaluation than a dishonest, unprincipled, poor, low integrity, no ethics John Matthias. No way. No way." Jean says, "But I'm a cynic. I think someone will." I don't know. It's crazy, right? It's crazy. It's terrible. All right. He should be on Brady list. I totally agree, Queen. Yep. Let's see. And, John, maybe John is cheaper than the others. I think John is probably free. Okay. That's just my guess. Using Brad Pitt to excuse his wife's level of integrity or lack thereof. But that is what he did. He just used social psychology, just used a little trick to confuse the hidden gems, unfortunately. All right. We'll do assessment for food, John. All right. Okay. The thing I will release later is different. He's not a defense witness. What is he? Hey, excited utterance. Oh, I'm so excited you're here. Look how excited I am. Welcome. Look, everyone is loving your coverage, your channel. You and Dolly are awesome, and we really appreciate you. So excited utterance says that she has some new information and he's not a defense witness. Well, we will be. When will that be coming out, Hella? Hey, Lindsay, welcome. Good to see you. I thought I saw Dittmer was indigent. Yeah, they're not a wealthy family. Again, Deb, I started this live talking about the fact that Lauren had made a statement at some point, and I just cannot remember when it was, but she did say that John had been reported to his licensing board and that it was very stressful because he was defending his license. And so when Hella broke this story about Dittmer the Third, I remembered her saying that, and I thought, oh, I bet you anything the prosecutors turned him in to his licensing board for that report. Lauren spends most of the time away from home, hates to cook, so gets takeout, rents her clothes because she doesn't like laundry. Is that true, Kapaloo? What? He shouldn't be licensed. His license is good until next year, December of 2026. Both together are diabolical. I mean, are they diabolical or do they just completely lack integrity? Like they're just empty, right? There's just no, they're like small children. They're 100% guided by what they want. They have no thought at all about the greater good, even the good of their own child. They played out this whole histrionic, hysterical drama with their little kid watching, and then tried to the psychological distress of their 8-year-old child, they said was Christina's fault. No, Lauren and John, Christina doesn't know your child. If your child is in distress, it's because you two have been acting out in front of him and he doesn't have safety or confidence in you guys because you're emotional wrecks. Zero human empathy or emotion. Yeah, zero warmth, right? Like none. Like I said, I think Lauren is more authentic and connected to Grayson. I don't think she and John even have like a friendship. They seem to talk at each other, not with each other. I have never heard of renting your clothes, and it's especially gross if she's renting clothes because she doesn't wash them. It's very weird. Hey, Daisy White, good to see you. All right. Fish have more emotion. All right. Okay. So this was a hard video for me because there was so much to say. There's so much to address. And you know, I wanted to be really clear why I think it was so awful. And I know that the test and being told he used the wrong test, I get how that can be kind of shocking, but that's not really unusual in this lifestyle of higher academics. And it's easily, that problem of defending your choices is easily solved by adding some adjunct tests to make up for the weakness of those tests. But he didn't even do that. Like he was completely unprepared. He didn't do any of the standard, what we would consider FYI. But more important, what he did was either complete and total incompetence or he's just a liar. He literally intentionally violated the integrity of the test so that he could have a sham result and say Mr. Dittman is at a low risk for recidivism. And that wasn't the case at all. Every single scoring error that he made was to the benefit of the pedophile. He did not make one scoring error that would have been to the benefit of the state or to the victim of the pedophile. And I think that should make your eyebrows look like Lauren Matthias's eyebrows, right? That's the dark part for me. The dark part for me is a total, complete lack of integrity to the field itself, because that code of ethics, those 16 principles, those are there to keep the public safe. The reason why some professions are licensed is that is one way for the state to take accountability and try to keep people from harming others. And like it or not, psychologists have a great deal of information that could be used to hurt others if you were an unscrupulous person. And if in fact, again, as I lined out at the beginning of this video, John Matthias wantonly ignored the firsthand reports of the subject of the testing. He just threw out his background and history and said, oh, blah, 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 I can't hear you. I'm not going to believe you. And instead made the background and history what the pedophile's mother said. And again, the motivation for that is he can use that in his recommendations, saying that we have good empirical research that shows that pedophiles who were victims of sexual abuse as children, that they are more successful in treatment, in therapy, than pedophiles who were not abused in childhood. The problem is it was a lie. He ignored the words of the pedophile who said, I was never sexually assaulted as a child. He ignored that and instead used the pedophile's mother's report. I had a dream that my child was assaulted. The report is a work of, it's fictional, like Brad Pitt. Okay. That's dark. That's bad stuff right there, people. That is bad. That's psychopathy stuff. It's bad. Real bad. Google Ursula from Little Mermaid. Maybe that is the look that she likes. You'll have your looks, your pretty face, and don't underestimate the importance of body language. Ha! The men up there don't like a lot of blabber. Yes, I love Little Mermaid. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know. It's very dark and scary. That the report, the judge's statement, the whole kit and caboodle. John Matthias, you are something else, buddy. Something else. All right. I don't think there's anything wrong with her traveling for work, not liking to clean and cook, as long as John is at home taking care of her son. But her attitude towards both is very concerning. Yeah, I'm certainly not going to question how anyone, who the stay-at-home parent is, or that's for every family to decide for themselves. And there's certainly plenty of professional women out there that, don't spend as much time being the caregiver. There's a lot of damn fine men out there that are doing great jobs, being the primary parent. But this is different, right? It's in your nature, any child, not just your own children. If something happens that is frightening, don't you kind of like smile and want to put kids at ease? Tell them everything's okay, right? Make a few little jokes, even if something big is happening. These two just seem to like embrace the histrionics. And if we're to believe them, their child has developed like an anxiety disorder because of their acting out. And then they turned around and blamed Christina. Christina doesn't even live in the same state that the kid lives in. No, they're just manipulators, and they're willing apparently to sacrifice their kid for that storyline. And never forget this, because this does bother me. I feel really bad for the hidden gems. I feel really bad for the people that have really developed an image of John and Lauren that is not in line with what history facts are showing. And, this is going to be hard for them, just like it was hard for Colby, it was hard for Kresha, Kay, Larry. This is going to be hard for them as all of this plays out. And yet, I think at this point now, Excited Utterance, Jay, Jolene, I think a lot of people have brought light to information that shows these are not people that are benign. Like, the things that they're doing are actually putting people in danger. Real human beings are being put in danger because of this nonsense. It is egregious, Diane. I agree with you. Yep. All right. Hidden gems are being willfully ignorant. Sure. Even aggressive. I've gotten some pretty nasty comments from some of them. And I mean, I can see it. They genuinely believe that Lauren and John are good people. Like, they really want to believe that. And I feel really bad for them, because the day is going to come where they're not going to be able to fool themselves much longer. And I do think with the Dittmer case, that day is approaching, right? It's coming. So, anyway, yeah, it's sad. I don't know if it's a Mormon thing, but both seem to have attachment issues. Oh, Lisa, it's just, yeah, it's just a lot. It's just craziness. Okay. I do. So Every Day with Jay, she showed this football player that apparently went to school with Chad Daybell. And then Chad published this football player's life story. And Lauren and John had the football player to their house for dinner. With each new passing day, as more of this information comes to light, I'm just like, going over and sitting down next to Kresha, and I'm saying, Kresha, you're totally right. Lauren and John are agents of the Mormon Church, and they're being paid to control the narrative about the whole story. They don't want any of these crazy Mormon murders to reflect badly on the church. And so the church is manipulating all of these true crime listeners on YouTube. Now, does that sound crazy when you say it? Yes. I sound like a lunatic when I say it. I know that. I know I do. And yet, if the shoe fits, right? Yes, Hawkeye. It sounds crazy to say it, and yet you can't really fight that. It fits. And that is why there are so many subs. And that is why you have people like Megan and Kirsten that are ride or die, standing in defense of these two clowns. We can't find a single legitimate client of this great and powerful forensic psychologist. Oh, but we have found parallels, apparent work relationships with Jody Hildebrandt. What? It's crazy. It's so crazy. This whole thing is crazy. Yeah. Crazy. They're not going to open their eyes, SJ. Megan, Trisha on Web Sleuths. No, I believe they're getting paid. They're all there. They're all there selling the narrative the Mormon church wants sold. I believe that now. I'm all in. I believe it. Yep. Scott Mitchell did the video with. I looked him up. He was an NFL quarterback and was on The Biggest Loser TV show, right? It's so crazy, Moments in Trading. And I remember when the trial was going on and they were talking about Chad's dark and light list. You remember? They said that there were professional athletes on the dark and light list, remember? Yeah, well, boom, Scott Mitchell. Oh, is anyone going to be surprised to find out that Scott Mitchell and Jason Mao are good friends? Anybody going to be surprised by that? I'm not. That's not going to surprise me, not one bit. So crazy. Her say she was going to embrace the dark recently gave me the chills. It was so weird when she was sitting in that hotel room in that bed sobbing and crying. She says at one point, she says, "I'm not dark," but she says it in a little child's voice. Like second nature to talk about being dark. Lauren, just how close were you to this whole ideology? It's getting creepy, Lauren. This is weird stuff, Lauren. Weird. Oh, well, okay. Clearly the subs are going up because they're buying, they're purchasing subscribers. I looked it up. Hold on a minute. I can give you some information. Let me pull up this. I think I saved it. Hold on. Just 1 minute. Okay. So, all right. So the typical okay, 8 to 14%. Okay, so the for a channel that has 300,000 subscribers, the low end of views should be like 30 to 40,000. And then of course, then the high end should be like 60 to 80,000. Some channels, 300,000 consistently get 100,000 views. And her channel wasn't even like comparing. Now, I do think it's gone up, which I think is crazy considering all that has come out. Hidden True Crime, dumbest channel name in the history of all time, in my opinion. Hold on just a minute. Okay, so she had she did finished a video. She put a video up 17 minutes ago, and it's got 700 views. 3 days ago, she had a video put up on cyber stalking, and it got 23,000. Dr. John was on 5 days ago. It has 50,000. So her views are really kind of all over the place. But The Rob Reiner videos, they do get the 66,000 views, which is what 300,000 subscribers you should be getting. But then the other ones, like here's Beauty Queen turned prison inmate, it got 28,000. I don't know. Their views are just kind of all over the place. Oh, 18,000. Here's one that's only got 18,000, 10,000. 29,000, 26,000. Yeah, see, she's low on her views. But yeah. I want to clarify someone in the chat. When you say that Lauren said that she bought the sofa at Home Goods, are you saying that you know she bought the orange sofa for her house, or you know that she bought the orange sofa for Gray Baby? Wait, Hawkeye, you said if she wants some more views, all she's got to do is talk about what's going on, and the views will go through the roof. I wish you would do it so I can prove my point. They are using other, for sure, Cat Baloo, yeah. I never go near their channel, not since the 9-hour and then the 3-hour. I don't understand anything about how YouTube works, but it seems ridiculous that people can artificially inflate their subscribers by purchasing them. You can, and it's a really bad thing to do. It's a really stupid thing to do because you don't get the corresponding views or the click through, and that can make you fall out of the algorithm. So it can, if people that are buying subscribers, their algorithm is not promoting their videos. They had a bunch of people subscribe during each big case who stayed, subscribed after the case, but they still don't watch. Yep. She says she bought it. It shows up in what is not her house. It has dark green sofa in some videos in the past. Yeah, so the orange one is apparently in the bedroom at Grayson's apartment. I think the Reiner story was a big boost. Yeah, I would agree with that. She bought that sofa when she moved to Boise, waiting for her first husband. I really liked Heather Daybell interview. I just don't know what happened to them along the way. I mean, she seems like she falls out with everyone, Vicky, right? Or it's a horrible story like what happened with Kay and Larry. It's like as soon as the last trial was finished, Kay and Larry were history. Like she's done with them. Nothing. Didn't need them anymore. Well, then she invoked their names during the 9-hour, histrionic fit. Yeah. Especially on Christmas Eve, you would think she would try to sound happy and uplifted, at least pretend. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a mess at this point. I cannot imagine. First of all, can we be honest here? I can't imagine what happened to her eyebrows. How do you go from having these big, giant arches, and then the next day it's like your whole forehead caved in? Very strange business. I don't know what that's about. Don't know what happened. Some people said facelift. I don't think so because it was overnight. So I don't know. Hawkeye. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Is it maybe she's swollen? Maybe, I don't know. But it is shockingly obvious, right? Scott Reich has a similar number of subscribers and gets the same or fewer views. I've been subscribed to Scott since he had 3,000 subs during Chris Watts. He didn't buy his subs. For sure. I love Scott Reich. Yeah, he's awesome. Her cheeks don't seem as prominent. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe she had the stuff melted out of her face. I don't know. Okay, so I think so too, Vicky. I totally agree. Yep, not so shocked, like, oh, I'm so happy all the time. I don't know. Lauren said in the police body cam the apartment was Grayson's and that Lauren is in a different house. Everyone Lauren knows finds out and runs. Carolina. The 144,000 is the number of people being taken to earth or to heaven, yet the scriptures say 144,000 and a multitude of others. Steroids make your face puff. Yes, they absolutely do, Bling. Filler dissolved. I wondered, Yoga, if that could be what was happening. And she wants to go so evil and low as to put a lawsuit against Crusher, which was just, it's like, do you have any awareness of like who you are and what you're doing for a living? You take Crusher to copyright court over photographs of her murdered family members. I don't know what's wrong that they make these decisions. It's mystifying. And yet, now we know that the same lack of care actually happened in a courtroom. I'm in complete shock. So, hey, Dr. Vanda, welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, anyone that's known Lauren longer than a year is an ex-friend. There's no current friends except for Gray. I saw someone mention threading and if she had the threads removed. Ugh, I don't know. I just can't. Yikes. Ptosis from misplaced Botox. Now that is a hypothesis I would be willing to embrace. Maybe you're right, hook, line, and sinker. Did she even hire a PR person? Didn't Grayson say she's the PR person? There's psych-wise, there's got to be hate watchers there. That's got to be, right? People like John give your profession a bad name, and that's very sad. And that in and of itself, Moonbeam, is an ethical violation. You're supposed to behave when you're acting in the capacity of psychologist. You have to adhere to your code. And man, that evaluation for Mr. Dittmer was a nightmare. Yeah, facelifts, lots of bruising, horrible swelling, like your eyes swollen shut. Yeah. So Sherry Rollins is most aligned with my hypothesis. I think that she was shaving her eyebrows and that she draws on her eyebrows like like a stage performer does. And so she was going above the orbital bone, her brow bone, right? And then everybody, Turtle Boy, began making fun of the golden arches, and so now she's tried to normalize them. So yeah, I think she shaves them and then draws them on where she wants them. Yep. Happy to announce aging naturally is back in style. Daisy agrees she draws them on. She uses a stencil. Emilio, bringing the tea. All right. All right. So we've got to be sure to watch Excited Utterance. She has more information that's going to be coming out, and this time not a defense witness. Okay. So I don't know what it is, but we got to keep an eye on Hella Excited Utterance because she's going to be bringing the tea. Okay. Laya Julia, thank you so much for your super chat. I never send this, but just know I really respect your take on things. Big hugs from Barcelona. Spain is so beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you, Julia. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Bling is the new black. Look at Bling. 5 allegedly innocent memberships. Bling, you're a great friend. Thank you so much. I did not see who all got those 5 memberships, but I'm going to go back through the chat and I'm going to find them. All right. And thank you so much for that. And we need to do a members only for sure. And so I'm going to get that together and make sure that we do that. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate you so much. Jill, I wish that I could have taken time and done like a big 3-4 hour to address all of the details. But this week is going to be really busy. Christmas took me away from my channel. And so I wanted to do an overview of what I thought was really the most egregious part of the whole thing. In the coming days, I do have some details that I'm going to come back and work around. But I wanted to do that big general overall. Here's the problem. Here's the biggest problem with the way that I see the whole thing. And really, it has to do with John Matthias absolutely blew his ethics code out of the water. And if this doesn't get him reported to his board, I just don't know what would. I don't. It was such an egregious act, what he did. It's just awful. All right. You guys are amazing. Thank you, Bling. Thank you again so much. I appreciate you more than you know. And let's go out with a little bit of Lauren. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Where'd he go? Oh, there we go. Here we go.
Oh, Lauren, queen of the screen. With Botox so tight, you look like a dream. But your skin's so thin, it's like tissue paper. One wrong word and poof, you're a vapor. Hey, Lauren, toes all sore and red. From folks stepping on them, now you're crying in bed. People are mean, you wail through the night. But you swing at victims' kin, what a sight. From YouTube throne, Queen Lauren's so grand. Now cast to the peasants with pitchforks in hand. You dish out the drama, true crime with flair. But cross your highness, oh beware. Family members grieving, you pounce like a cat. Claws out and hissing, imagine that. Botox can't hide that frown upside down. Your kingdom's crumbling, you're losing your crown. Hey, Lauren, toes all sore and red. From folks stepping on them, now you're crying in bed. People are mean, you wail through the night. But you swing at victims' skin, what a sight. From YouTube throne, Queen Lauren's so grand. Now cast to the peasants with pitchforks in hand. Once upon a vid, you ruled the true crime wave. Subs in the millions, oh what a rave. But thin skin and sore toes led to your fall. Now you're scrolling comments, ignored by all. Peasant life calls with no royal decree. Just Botox bills and reality TV. Hey, Lauren, pack up your crown. The kingdom's evicting, you're heading downtown. Toes still aching, tears on your sheets. But hey, next adventure, true crime on the street. From queen to the fields with the mud and the muck. Lauren, oh Lauren, next time, better luck. Apologize, Lauren, to victims of our...
Where it began. Lauren and her filler sweet 52, rocking that Botox like it's 2002. Gray baby, barely old enough to vote, found her soulmate in a true crime Reddit post. Hidden hands, touching hands over a Dateline episode about a lady in the woods, sipping root beer, screaming that could be us, befriending Lori Vallow in jail, just get her trust. You are the prairie girl of Lauren's dreams, sister wifing in the LDS scene. Mormon ghosts are nodding with approval, it seems. Dr. John said, I now pronounce you codependent. Two Karens share a bed at Amazon Prime. True crime love never felt so disordered and sublime. Ruby Frank had her vlogs and her chains. Jody had duct tape and nutritional yeast for days. Lauren's got a ring light and Needles rants about boundaries. Grayson has hidden TikToks doing sister-wife things. Both screaming, respect my authority, while the neighbors call CPS the FBI, peeking through the drapes at the strange trio at night. Be advised, 3 subjects, 1 fool, 1 fat walker. Last seen arguing over whose turn it is to be the victim or the stalker. Grayson traded prom for polygamy. Lauren traded menopause for a felony. Together they're worse than Ruby and Jody. They lie to cops, slander others, cry for 9 hours, leaving Dr. John oh so lonely. So here's to John and his girls, one with filler, the other hair slick with oil, both fighting age, personality disorders in a collagen cage. May your mugshot go viral, may your GoFundMe thrive, and may Dr. John keep both of you happy long enough to finish the mansion and air the Netflix